The last place I would have ever expected to have a panic attack was on a safari bus. I'd studied all about panic attacks, and I'd worked with countless people who'd experienced them. It was part of my job to help people navigate through feelings of anxiety, depression, guilt, shame, and everything in between. And to be candid, I was pretty good at it. I'd read all the books and knew all the strategies, or so I thought. But it's one thing to know about emotional struggles and a whole other thing to experience emotional struggles. It was a hot 96-degree day in September. Labor Day weekend would be a perfect time to take the kids to a local safari experience that we had on our bucket list. We got to the park and walked around for a while until we realized it was too hot to keep walking. The safari tour bus was leaving in a few minutes, so we decided to get our tickets and head toward the line. I remember thinking how hot it was, noticing the significant amount of sweat we were dripping, and reminding the kids to make sure they were staying hydrated. We bought a couple bottles of water and got in line. Within a few moments, the safari bus pulled up in its animal print colors of black and bright orange. It was a rugged bus with huge wheels and no roof, so you could reach out and feed the wild animals as you took a tour through the wilderness. We hopped on the bus and got settled, and within moments, our group had entered a mock-up of the African savanna. There were elk, deer, water buffalo, and bison to begin with. Then we drove by some giraffes and eventually into a large herd of Watusi, an African breed of cattle with gigantic horns. The bus stopped to give the cattle a chance to get close and give the riders an opportunity to feed them as they passed by. All of a sudden, I became very aware of my body. My focus went from looking at the things around me to feeling what was going on inside of me. I realized how hot my head was feeling with the sun beating down on my black head of hair. The next thing you know, I started sweating profusely. My mouth felt dry, and I felt a tingling going up each of my hands all the way up to the top of my arms. My heart rate started climbing, and I could hear my pulse like the sound of a deafening drum beating in my ear. I felt like I was breathing through a tiny straw. And then I started panicking. What is wrong with me? Am I about to pass out on this safari bus? My thoughts began to spiral. There's nowhere to go. What do I do? I can't get off this bus right now. There are animals with huge horns everywhere, and I'm completely stuck. My brain was spinning with silent thoughts, and I was plummeting down, 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 and feeling worse and worse with each passing second. I couldn't control what was happening in my body. I felt helpless. I felt scared. I felt desperate. I wanted to scream and run. I wanted to tell the bus driver to get me off this bus, but there was nowhere to go. My 6-year-old son, who was sitting next to me on the bus, broke my distressed thoughts with his whining. "Mom, I'm hot," he said, as he grabbed the bottle of water I was clutching in my hands without even realizing it. He took a drink and handed me the water bottle, and I guzzled it down as fast as I could. It helped a little, and my spiraling thoughts began to slow. I was completely out of control, but no one else around me seemed to notice. Not my son sitting next to me, nor my husband and kids sitting in front of me, nor any of the people around me. Eventually, the tingling in my arms stopped, and my breathing and heart rate came back to normal. This whole experience probably took all of 3 minutes, but it felt like an eternity. There was a moment in those few minutes that I truly thought I was going to die. But now somehow, I felt like things were starting to settle. I made it through the rest of the bus ride, although I was definitely on high alert. When we got off the bus, I pulled my husband aside and told him what had just happened. "I'm so sorry you went through that, babe," he said. "Why didn't you tell me?" I thought about his question for a moment, and I realized that I didn't tell him because I didn't even know what was happening in the moment. I thought my body was failing me. I wondered if I was going to pass out or die. But really, my emotions had taken control. Really, I had experienced my first panic attack.